Going through a divorce is, without a doubt, one of the toughest things you can face. And right in the middle of all that stress, you've got this one huge, emotionally charged asset to deal with: your family home. So today, let's talk about how to tackle this with a clear head, especially if you're in Unmount Holly, New Jersey.
For so many couples, this is the big one. It's the question that feels impossible to answer because it's not just about money, it's about memories, it's about stability, it's just incredibly personal. Yep, that's it right there. What happens to the house? It's almost always the single largest asset you share. And figuring out its future, does one person buy the other out or do you sell it? Well, none of that can even begin until you know its real, honest to goodness market value. You're basically stuck until you have that number. Okay, so dealing with the house, it can get really tense, I get it. But the good news is there's a clear, structured way to handle this. And it all starts with getting one objective number that everyone can agree is fair. Let's walk through exactly how that works. So you might be thinking, hey, why can't we just look up an online estimate or just agree on a price? And that's a fair question. But when lawyers and courts get involved, the answer is pretty simple. You absolutely need a valuation that is credible and will hold up under legal scrutiny. See, here in New Jersey, the law operates on a principle called equitable distribution. Now, pay attention here. Equitable means fairly, which is not always the same as a 50-50 split. To make sure the division is truly fair, the court demands a precise professional valuation. It's not just a suggestion, it's a requirement. And that really gets to the heart of the matter. On one side, you've got those online estimates. You know the ones. They're fine for a quick peek, a ballpark idea, but they are not legally defensible. No way. On the other side, you have a formal appraisal from a licensed pro. That's the document that attorneys and judges trust because it's impartial and backed by actual evidence. So a real appraisal does three critical things for you. First, it cuts down on the arguments by giving everyone an unbiased, factual number. Second, it gives your attorney a solid foundation to negotiate from. And third, it puts you in a position of power, allowing you to make smart, informed decisions. It basically replaces all that emotional guesswork with hard facts. All right, so the word appraisal can sound kind of formal and intimidating, but the process itself, it's actually really straightforward. Just think of it like a simple four-step roadmap to get you from point A to point B. Let's break it down. Here we go. Step 1, you talk to your attorney. They'll confirm exactly what's needed for the court. Step 2, you find and choose an appraiser who really gets divorce cases, a specialist. Step 3, you schedule the inspection of the property. And finally, step 4, you use that detailed official report as the starting point for all your discussions. See? Simple and clear. Now, let's pause on that second step for a second, choosing the right appraiser. This is so important. For a divorce, you don't just want any appraiser. You need a specialist who understands that this isn't for a mortgage. It's for a legal proceeding with very high stakes. So, what are you looking for? There are three traits that are absolutely essential. 1, total independence and neutrality. They can't be seen as favoring one side. 2, deep local knowledge of the Mount Holly market specifically. And 3, they have to be comfortable with their work being examined under a microscope by lawyers and the court. They have to be ready to defend it. Okay, so now you know what you need. That's half the battle right there. The other half is actually finding the right professional who can deliver on all those points. So let's see what that solution actually looks like. This is where a specialized service like Eagle Home Appraisal MT Holly really shines. Their whole focus is on this exact type of situation, creating rock-solid valuations for things like divorce settlements, where impartiality isn't just nice to have, it's everything. And that local knowledge, man, I can't stress this enough. An appraiser who is in Mount Holly every single day knows the little differences between neighborhoods, the school districts, the recent sales that an algorithm might miss. This means your home's value is based on reality, not some generic regional average. At the end of the day, that report has to be bulletproof. A true divorce appraiser knows they might have to stand by their valuation in front of a judge, explain their whole process, and even serve as an expert witness. That's the gold standard of a court-ready appraisal. And really, that's what this is all about. The goal is to get one single, fair, and defensible number that you, your spouse, both of your attorneys, and the court can all rely on. That's the key that unlocks fair negotiations and helps everyone finally move forward. So if you find yourself in the situation in or around Mount Holly, here's the contact information for Eagle Home Appraisal. They specialize in providing the impartial and court-ready service that these sensitive situations demand. You can just reach out and schedule an appraisal to get the clarity you really need right now. And that leads us to the final and honestly the most important question. Once you have that objective number, the conversation can finally shift. It's no longer about arguing over what the house is worth. It becomes about deciding what's the best path forward for your family's new future. It's the first real step toward finding a resolution.